Hello and welcome back to Coffee Kurosawa, the friendly film crit podcast. I am your friendly film fanatic, Ben Filipkowski.
And I am Farrah Sarpkaya, a person who loves film, but like in a super chill, I wish I were on a beach right now sort of way.
And today we are talking about Alfonso Cuarón's 2001 coming-of-age road trip comedy more drama film?
Much drama.
So much drama. Tu Mama Tambien. Starring Gael Garcia Bernal, Diego Luna, and Maribel Verdú, the movie is about teenage best friends Julio and Tenoch, who, having just graduated high school and seen their girlfriends off for summer trips abroad, make all sorts of grand plans. And proceed to do nothing but get stoned, laze about, and talk about all the girls they want to sleep with. Things change when, at Tenoch's older sister's wedding, they meet Luisa, the wife of Tenoch's cousin. The boys immediately try to impress and flirt with Luisa, proposing a trip to the maybe-made-up Boca del Cielo beach. Luisa politely demurs, but after getting some test results back from her doctor and learning of her husband's infidelity, soon takes the boys up on the offer. What follows is a road trip to end all road trips as the trio explore rural Mexico, talking about love, lust, loss, and life, growing closer and closer, and also kind of further apart. Love triangles form, secrets are revealed, and passions and tensions alike spill over. So, Farrah, what did you think of this one?
So I wrote a whole introduction, first impressions thing, and then we talked about it for half an hour. And my first impressions are still the same, but I'm going to add some nuance to that. So one of the, again, spoilers for a movie from the 90s. Louisa's dying, right? And instead of dealing with it, she runs off with two very young men. And I don't know how much I could separate myself from that for quite some time. Like, we don't learn that she's dying officially till the end, but the fact that she's like a woman in her presumably late 20s. I think you said 27 is her canon age.
I think she's
and
27.
They're like 17 is very uncomfortable for me. And the whole time I was thinking about that of like, oh, I don't like this. And then there's this moment in the intro that she takes this little test in the doctor's office while she's waiting for her, from a magazine or whatever, while she's waiting for her appointment, that says she fails to claim her future. And this is her version of claiming her future. And I think my first impression of this movie, because you told me it was a fun coming-of-age road trip movie, and then we got this, was this woman is terrible. God, teenage boys are chaos hormone monsters. And I think I liked the movie, but in that way that like sometimes things make you uncomfortable and make you think. And also, big props to Maribel Verdú, who crushed being a monster in a way that was very sympathetic and very like charismatic, I guess. I don't know. It was this movie gave me a lot of feelings.
Yeah, fair. She's kind of, the character Luisa is probably doing the wrong thing in this movie, but it like you're able to extend so much empathy to her. I think it's like, boy, you're making all sorts of mistakes, but I really feel for you. Like, you're in a rough spot. She's crashing out hard, I guess, is probably the best way to sum up her, and making some bad decisions as a result. There's a lot in this movie, and we're certainly not going to be able to unpack all of it.
No.
But like, I pitched this as like, just a teen road trip movie, and sometimes you got to make a bit of a hard sell to get people to buy, and
you didn't
I did
have
that.
to though. I like weird, like politically charged and morally ambiguous movies. You didn't have to bait and switch me, but you did, because like there's so much packed into this movie that's supposed to be a road trip. And instead, what we get is a very thoughtful and a very dynamic look into, age and love and death and life and, maturity
Yeah.
and morality. And you pointed out to me during our pre-chat, like colonization and privilege. And there are so many instances, particularly of the privilege conversation, that stood out to me that were also just like poignant in really beautiful and very like heartbreaking ways that I thought was really good. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and all this stuff has just a blanket of horny teenager
Yes.
all over it,
Yes.
which is a weird phrase to say as I say it, but
Yes.
like I can't stress enough that this is like it's almost off-putting how obsessed with sex.
Almost. My guy.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the teens suck. They're kind of terrible, but in the way that like, well, of course they are. They're teens.
Yes, that's their job.
Yeah. So I've mentioned at the top, Diego Luna plays Tenoch. His real life best friend, Gael Garcia Bernal, plays fictional best friend Julio. Fun fact, the reason that Diego Luna got cast in this is because Garcia Bernal convinced Alfonso Cuarón, like, no. Like, he's my best friend, and this is like, that dynamic is going to work really well in this movie.
Yeah.
Because I guess Diego Luna was mostly a teen idol and telenovela star before this, and this kind of broke him onto a larger stage. So
that's really cool.
Of course, it is very funny watching interviews of these two best friends in the subsequent years where they're like, yeah, we didn't really anticipate the scene where we had to make out. Like, that's a little awkward because we're best friends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is just like a really interesting movie. It's beautifully awkward and beautifully uncomfortable, I think, is how I've kind of tried to sum it up. It is a road movie, but it puts a real twist on that, because I think like you think of like a road movie or a road trip movie and it's very like coming of age or self-actualization and discovery. Like the physical journey is paralleled and mirrored by the kind of like internal journey of self-discovery that characters go on. And that doesn't really happen in this. I mean, it kind of does for Luisa.
Yeah.
Sort of, maybe. I think she might just be in strong denial about a lot of things right now.
Yeah.
But the two guys, like, they seem to hit this moment of growth and actualization just at the very end. And that moment of growth and actualization is when they act on their, by at this point, extremely, obvious attraction for one another. It's been
their chemistry is great.
Yeah, they've been like, it's been building up the entire movie, and they're all these like, they are closer than brothers in many ways. And when they finally give in to their feelings for one another, they wake up the next day and immediately freak out and reject any growth that they had from this. So it's kind of like, it's odd because it kind of like subverts that expectation that they would have this like, it represents an evolution of who they are, their friendship, their relationship. But then, it's like a moment of like harsh reality hitting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's the morning after.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what I find really interesting about that, and particularly their like evolution in their relationship and this simmering friendship to turn into intimacy. Because I don't know, if it's intimacy insofar as like, oh, they're actually, on the rainbow somewhere or whatever. Yeah. Whatever that is, the morning after, when they have this panic and then they presumably have to drive back together in awkward silence.
It's like a 3-day drive at least.
It's like a 3-day drive, yeah. And the kind of the schism that happens between the two of them. It's like when you're dating something. It's like when you're dating someone and you don't get married until you like go on a trip to IKEA with them, or like you go on a long weekend away, or like live together or whatever, because that proximity can make or break a relationship.
Yeah.
And these two have been best friends forever. And then they go on this road trip that is intimate, both like literally physically intimate, but also emotionally intimate. And just you're stuck in the same room together for days. And the little habits that we form that are flagged by the narrator, in fact, of like, you know, I use my foot to lift the seat on the toilet and little things like that. Like they share so many moments of like they masturbate together, right? At the beginning, and it's awkward as heck.
Yeah.
But like they've shared that, but not those moments of depth and humanity of just like, oh, this person snores like a chainsaw, you know? And those are the things you don't get until you spend a lot of time stuck in a small space with someone, right? And the fact that they are forced to confront all of these things that make them different, these cultural things that, you know, Diego's character, Tanaka's from a very wealthy family. They have a literal castle in their backyard kind of sort of thing. Whereas Julio is from a less privileged background, but is getting kind of the benefits of all of that, but is still removed.
Yeah.
Right? As they start to have to grapple with that and their pre-existing sort of biases that maybe they've never talked about really in a serious way, they're forced to now. And that crumbling as they're unable to get over it is so profoundly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Watching the two of them like devolve from like, I love you so very much, but I can't with this.
Yeah.
Whatever this is.
Yeah. And doubly so because they explicitly have their manifesto. And I'm going to... I wrote down each of them, but I got to remember the exact...
Isn't there like 10 of them?
Yeah, there are like 10 of them. 10 rules. The Charolastra Manifesto. So Charolastra is roughly translated as like, it's like space cowboy or astral cowboy. And I think it's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think it's like the 10th, 9th or 10th rule, and it's truth is cool but unattainable, which is like deeply, weirdly, deeply profound for these teenage losers.
But it's also the kind of thing two stoner teenage boys would think of, and you know,
and not realize how profound it is. Like because like the immediately preceding rule is, I'm censoring what the actual rule is, but it's whoever roots for Team America sucks. It's worth repeating because that they have that rule in there twice. And like other rules in their manifesto are whacking off rules and never marry a virgin. Like it's just like peak teenage boy ridiculousness. Get high at least once a day. Thou shalt not sleep with another Charolastra's girl. Like it's just like ridiculous stuff. And then buried in there is truth is cool but unattainable, which is the one like when they're explaining their manifesto to Luisa. That's the one that she like latches onto. It's like she's like, that's actually really good. Like that's a deep thought. And they're kind of like, yeah, whatever, man. Like the truth, bro. Like, yeah, and I think that's really cool and interesting that they have this rule, this thing in this manifesto that they've created, and they cannot acknowledge the truth to each other in some way, shape, or form. Whether that truth is like this won't work or that this was a mistake. They certainly seem to think it's a mistake that they have this encounter, but
I mean,
I don't know. Like
I don't.
It's left unsaid.
Yeah, because that there's also the other side of potential of they both wish they could, but they can't, right? To your point. Like their dear friend who came out, or their friend who came out, ultimately gets kicked out of the family home and whatever. And given Tanak's family, his father being a politician, his mother being so prim to the point she doesn't even walk on the grass, she walks on the stepping stones. Like she hops between the stepping stones in the garden of this like golf course grass. There is no way his parents would allow him to A, be queer in any way, shape, or form, and B, date and or get married to someone who is not of his class. Because like at the end, the narrator says he ends up dating his neighbor, who presumably also lives in one of the big fancy houses in a very wealthy neighborhood, rather than his girlfriend who was like not quite up to snuff for his mother.
I think it's also worth noting that like we can probably dig into this in a little bit, but like Tenosh's mom is also kind of not explicitly, but is basically described as being like a bit of a space cadet. Like she's into a lot of like the new age, a ton of new age stuff, and takes it very seriously. And like Tenosh's name is chosen, I think, partially because of that, but also more explicitly because of his dad's like political ambitions. And like Tenoch being an indigenous name versus like a Spanish name. It's very like draping the family in a certain imagery to create an appeal outside, because as far as we know, they're not indigenous, So so that's an aside, but like all that to say, like the class divide and the kind of like enforced heteronormativity and expectations of society seem like a big thing in this moment, and indeed in the movie at large.
The fact that I don't know is it the fact that the road trip takes them away also from the city, where we see like political strife and murder and all of these trappings, and we strip away a lot of that as they're traveling through, and they're all just equal. Well, we can talk through equals here in a minute because I have some thoughts.
Oh yeah.
But they are, they're forced to sleep in the same rooms, in the same, itty bitty little side of the road motels that have, some of them have water, just not warm water because they don't have heated water and all these things. And like gives them that opportunity not just to go on this path of growth, but to strip away everything but just the joy of being together is also very interesting to me. Because like we see them usually in Tanak's house. They don't really go to Julio's house, presumably because Tanak's house is sick. It's sick as hell. Julio's taking advantage of the fact that his best friend's dad is like, oh, you get free reign of a country club on every Monday of the week. Or we have servants, plural, who will provide you with food and clean up after you, and and go down the list.
Yeah.
And then they go on this road trip in Julio's car because Tanak's car has been taken because he's not studying what his dad wants him to study. Giving us an excellent look into, the trappings of privilege. But also, as they're driving, the car breaks down and they have to, like, be inconvenienced. And that's like, oh, I don't want that. That's awful. or like the inability and immaturity of being able to address moments like that, instead of, when I think of a road trip movie, I don't necessarily think that everything's going to be sunshine and roses, but also the frustration mounts so beautifully with every mile they traipse and every dark story that comes out of, like, the narrator talking about the dead chickens in the road, and the accident that occurred on that strip right after we've heard about Luisa's old boyfriend presumably dying back in Spain, because she's Spanish, not from Mexico. But all of those little parallels that they kind of sprinkle in as we go along is really interesting as well.
Yeah, the narrator is a non-diegetic voice of truth. Like, the diegetic being originating within the fiction, and non-diegetic being like any movie that has like a big like needle drop moment where that sound is not coming from within the world of the movie would be a non-diegetic source, versus like diegetic is within. Yeah, I'm just.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like so I watched Jane the Virgin. I don't watch a lot of telenovela, but I watched Jane the Virgin, which is kind of based on telenovela, roughly. And they have the narrator covering the whole thing, who is of the show but not of the show, as we learn later on. It's a whole thing. But like, he's not there. Yeah. He's not like, it's not like Jane is narrating the scene from afar of like her inner thoughts. It's this narrator outside of it, kind of telling the story as you go along, giving context and stuff.
This omniscient narrator who's also a real downer. Just about made Farrah do a spit take.
I almost got tea up my nose. Thank you.
The narrator, like, they'll have like a moment of like good humor, or like a moment of like genuine like, well, that's a nice like, what a fun. Everyone's laughing, or everyone's like talking about something good here, and the narrator will be like, yeah, so the reason that they were stuck in this traffic and able to joke and laugh with each other is because this gentleman got hit by a bus. And left behind like a wife and child, and you're like, oh, okay. And then the camera, they drive past the scene of the accident, the camera lingers on it, and there's that repeated shot of like, they'll drive past something happening on the side of the road, and the camera is like a head turning to follow, and they do that. And in particular, the scene where they're talking about the truck full of chickens and the accident, and it's like if they had been there 10 years, if they had driven that road 10 years earlier, they would have encountered, broken chicken cages, bloodied chickens, a turned over truck, and two bodies lying in the road. The smaller of the two covered with a jacket, and a woman crying off to one side. And you're like, wow, okay.
Thanks, narrator.
Thanks, guy. Like, that was cool.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of moments like that. But the narrator also has when Julio reveals that he slept with Tenoch's girlfriend, and they have like an all-night fight about it, the narrator cuts in to say like, Julio changed some details and spared some details to try and spare Tenoch's feelings and to like mend the friendship a little bit and fix things. And you're like, oh, well, that's kind of nice, I guess. Like, that's a positive thing to say about this moment. And I think that's like the one truly positive thing the narrator says.
Well, they immediately follow it up with, and Tenoch continued to ask for more and more details so that he could try to, like, and it's just like, oh.
And that's also interesting, because it is also like, it's a moment of like, is he trying to twist the knife?
Yeah.
Is he trying to self-flagellate and like feel bad about this? Or is he like, is he looking for the play-by-play reel? Like, is he looking for, is he curious and interested, I suppose?
Yeah.
Because,
I mean,
yeah.
To quote the GIF, que no dos? You know, like morbid curiosity is still curiosity.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have like all those moments of that camera turning as you watch the accident go by or whatever.
Yeah.
He's what do they call it? Rubbernecking?
Yeah.
Right? When there's an accident, you're like, oh, what's that? But this has nothing to do with the fact that it's a road trip movie, but the fact that the use of the camera in this movie was so cool.
Yeah.
Like, there's a moment where Luisa's on the phone with Alejandro, her... At this point, I mean, they're still married, but she's fully left him.
Yeah.
And you see her close in the phone booth, and the boys are reflected in a mirror or a glass window, whatever, behind the camera playing foosball. And I'll be honest, it kind of reminded me of Citizen Kane. There's a shot that very reminded me of Citizen Kane. But they do that a lot. The director does a lot of really cool tricks of angles, or like looking through a broken piece of glass through the window, trying to see Luisa undressing, but seeing her crying instead, and they run away.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, where we get these moments of intimacy that are not sex, and how uncomfortable the boys are with that too.
Yeah.
Because like, if my friend or my sexual partner or whatever was like within eyesight, because like they're in line of sight for her, right, sobbing in a phone booth, I'd be concerned.
Yeah.
Like, I'd check on them, right?
Yeah.
And they don't, because they don't want that kind of intimacy, or at least they're afraid of it, or whatever that is. It feels like they're afraid of it, not that they don't want it.
Yeah.
And like those camera tricks to show that and really like highlight, you boys talk a big game, but those are the surface level things, and you can't deal with the heavy stuff, is really interesting and really cool.
Yeah, I love the camera bit, the way that the shot is made when they're at the wedding and they meet Luisa, and she's at the top of those stairs in the stands of this sort of stadium. Yeah. I'm not super familiar with that. With what that would be for. Kind of like a.
It's the bullfighting mariachi, like where they do cowboy stuff.
Yeah.
Like tricks and whatnot.
Yeah. And
arena. That's
it's an arena.
Sorry,
and
it's arena.
She's at like the top of this flight of stairs, and they try and like, hey girl, what's going on? And she's like, get out of here. And then they go and sit down, and they remain in the frame. And then Luisa's husband, Hano, shows up, basically like crying about his all-white suit being stained with red wine now. And he leaves. And then Tinashe's like, wait, hang on. That's your husband? It's like, that's my cousin. And then they're like, oh my God, we all know each other.
I remember you when you were a cute little guy.
Yeah.
And that's when I got the ick.
Yeah, and that follows. I made a note of this, but like when they meet Hano and he's like, "Oh, Tanash, you're all like so." I remember you were so little, crying over a Ninja Turtle, and Tanash was like, "It was Thundercats, thank you."
Thank you.
And Luisa remembers correctly that it was Thundercats, which is an interesting detail to me. And then they try and make their pitch of like, come to this beach. It's called the mouth. Yeah, the mouth of heaven. Yeah, heaven's mouth. That's it. We're not making this up. And she's like, okay, sure. Well, if I go to a beach.
Yeah, boys.
Yeah, if I go to a beach, it'll be with my husband, but we'd love to go with you. And they're like, all right, cool. See ya, I guess. And then she takes them up on the offer after she gets her diagnosis, and as it is revealed that Hano has cheated on her repeatedly, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is like a great moment to kind of take a bit of a left turn into like the political commentary and the social commentary, because I'm not super familiar with, wedding customs in Mexico. But I do think it's notable that Luisa and Hano are wearing white, because no one else seems to be wearing white.
Yeah.
Some people are wearing like kind of like tan, but no one else is wearing white. And Luisa is explicitly from Spain. She's from Madrid, and Hano is an expat who now lives in Madrid. They live in Madrid, and they're back for a month, or they're doing something, and the wedding happens to land while they're back. And there's kind of an element of like the rules don't apply to them, I guess. Like they're both wearing white, and again, I'm not super familiar with like custom and culture in Mexico, in particular, like wedding custom and culture. But like, you don't do that in most other North American weddings. You would not show up wearing white. That's
No,
a
absolutely
complete
not.
faux pas. No one comments on this. Like, it doesn't seem to be a big deal. So maybe I'm just like reading into it with a different lens, but it stands out to me. And like Hano in particular, he sucks. Like he's this Mexican expat who's got the vibe of like, oh well, Europe is of course so beautiful and wonderful, and like everyone should go there and travel there, and like, and I'm a writer, and
Yeah.
you have to live and experience life to write. And yes, it's nice to come
Yeah.
back here. And like Tenoch explicitly wants to be a writer, and is kind of like, okay, shut up, pal. Like,
Yeah. I mean, Hano's trash for a lot of reasons, but
yeah,
we also get this story from the narrator later on where we learn that she's a dentist or some kind of dental technician.
yeah,
I don't know. And he brings her to parties where everybody's like, oh, do you have thoughts? Because he's an intellectual and she's, quote unquote, just a dentist.
mm,
And you get
yeah,
the vibe that it's either because they want to hear her thoughts and she feels kind of like down on herself, or they're pretentious jerks, right?
yeah,
And he never was like, stop being rude to my wife.
yeah,
Like it sounds like he partook in this particular denigration of his wife, which
yeah,
is unpleasant and speaks a lot to his character.
hmm
Um, but yeah, it's funny because it's very much a trope of if you are a woman and you wear white to someone else's wedding, someone will spill red wine on you
yeah.
because you're being a giant,
But it happens to
you know.
him,
And it happens to him, yeah,
and it's
because
super
he's just
deliberate.
being a prat.
Yeah. And yeah, and also just like the fact that like a white suit is also so coded as a colonial symbol. Um,
Yeah.
Not always, but like in this context, it's hard for me not to think of that, because like the movie does make so many other comments about
Yeah.
colonialism and the colonial history, and like much later on when they do get to the beach that turns out to be a real beach against all odds, which is and that entire sequence, I have to say, is like, it's worth writing out the discomfort of so much of the rest of the movie just for that like 20-minute sequence, because it is beautiful. It's like all the problems are forgotten. It's all beautiful and stunning, and filled with genuine joy. But then there is that reminder that they meet the fisherman Chui and his wife and family, and Luisa spends so much time with the kids,
Yeah.
and is great with the kids. But Chui's wife is like, "Oh, miss, you're so good with children." Like, it's very like
Ma'am.
deferential,
She
ma'am,
says
yeah.
ma'am.
And there's
Yeah.
like a deferential, like, yeah, like deferential to the
Yeah.
colonial individual who represents this colonial history, is
Yeah.
really interesting. And yeah, like, and even like, and I'm jumping back a little bit here, Tenoch's name being a political statement, but also Julio, his last name is Zapata, which would, you know, uh, very notable kind of like national hero in Mexico, Emiliano Zapata, was a Mexican revolutionary who pushed hard for agrarian reform and emancipation of the peasantry and stuff like that. So like there are all these like little like, it's not commented on in the movie, but it's there. And like they go through like the left wing protest at one point.
Yeah.
And yeah, like they're just like all these like interesting things there. There's a shot as well. I made a note of this. They drive past what appears to be like a bust of some sort. Like the two cars are pulled over, and the police are like armed and searching the vehicles, and they drive past. And then the next shot is like this wide shot of this beater of a car driving through like a small town, and there's a building with a mural on it and people working in the shadow of the mural. And the figure on that mural is I had to look all this up because I'm not super familiar with Mexican history, but Benito Juarez, and the words are El respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz, which is respect for the rights of others is peace. And this is like a figure who is very like this very nationalistic national hero figure who is widely like the legacy is kind of like that of a progressive who fought for democracy first through the Civil War and then to repel French invasion in the 1860s. It feels like a statement, some sort of statement about like Mexican culture and independence in a globalized world to some nature. Like, and I'm no expert in any of this, but like it's always worth remembering that like while globalization offers a lot of benefits, those benefits are not always equitably distributed. And that's like a major post-colonial critique of globalization. They're like, yeah, it's good for some people, not everybody.
Right.
So
I mean, we have the narrator while our trio is being shown around all of these beautiful beaches by a fisherman. The narrator comes on and he's like, yeah, so they're going to get kicked out of their house and, you know, they're going to have to move. And then Choro, I think was the name of the gentleman. Chuy, thank you.
Yeah.
And he's never going to be able to fish again or do boat tours again because some conglomerate is going to back this other group of tour agents and he'll have to get a job at the giant fancy hotel that is being built here for all of the, you know, presumably rich and white tourists that are coming into Mexico. And I'm like, oh God, ow.
Yeah. And
my pain.
Yeah. And that follows my favorite scene in the movie when they're playing soccer on the beach.
Yeah.
And Chuy's just got the running rapid fire commentary where he's like, oh yeah, like, and then they pass, and it's like, oh, so one of you take the shot, and because he's playing goal.
He's narrating.
He's narrating everything, and I think like Julio takes the shot as Tenoch passes it to him, and Chuy gets like the diving, like grab the ball in the air, and falls to the ground, and he's like, it's a beautiful save by Campo, yeah. And everyone's just like laughing. He's like, oh, you guys don't like Campo? And it's just like this beautiful, so much happiness and joy. And then like they're on the boat and it's like, yeah, so this is the last time they're going to be on the boat. And it's like, oh man, don't do that to me.
But also, while the boys are playing soccer, Luisa and the man's wife are sitting and cooking. Well, you know, the man's wife is cooking, obviously. But Luisa is holding the baby and the woman is like, oh, you'd make such a good mother. Like, I hope you're the right age. You should do that. And that was the moment I said, like, I'd had suspicions from like, oh, if we're starting with a doctor's appointment, she's probably dying, right?
Yeah.
That was the moment I was like, oh, she's definitely dying because the look on her face is, I will never have children.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Right. And, oh.
Yeah,
that was the moment I said out loud, she's dying, for sure.
Yeah, if Luisa was in a cop show, Luisa would have spent this entire movie being like, yeah, one last shift before retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think like that is also like one of the frustrating things about this is that Luisa is she's going through it. And we can extend empathy to her for that. She is still, to some extent, taking advantage of this situation.
Yeah.
And and as much as the boys are fully consenting parties in this, there's still at least a 10-year age gap here.
And also, like, 17.
They're 17.
And this is where I got stuck.
Yeah.
Because that's, like, look, you can make whatever arguments you want about age of consent. If you are a woman in your late 20s, early 30s, and you are heartbroken because you're dying and your husband's cheated on you, it's still not morally correct to call up your husband's cousin who you knew as a little 7-year-old when you were a grown adult and then teach them how to have sex. That's not appropriate in any way, shape, or form. I don't care if they consent. They are hormone-filled teenage boys. That's not okay. Like,
I will say that, like, in defense of Louisa in this moment, while she has that moment of, like, because, like, Tenoch walks in on her out of the shower when he's out of the shower, and she's been crying, and she's got that, like, and she does kind of jump him, but then it is like a moment of, like, I think she realizes that this is wrong.
Yeah.
And then it causes another rupture in the friendship between the two guys. And to solve it, she sleeps with Julio because she's trying to say, like, if no matter who had walked through that door, I would have slept with them, which is not necessarily great justification. But she seems to acknowledge that, like, what she's going through has caused this, like, chaotic mess. Now, the solution is not to sleep with the other guy. Like, that's not the right answer either. But after that, she does lay down ground rules that, like, she's not sleeping with either of them. Mm-hmm. Like, she finally puts up much needed boundaries.
Yes.
But then, then they all
completely destroys them. Yes.
Yeah, they all sleep together later on anyways. So
I think
it's messy.
The scene, the scene where she first does sleep with Tenoch, and then in the way that Maribel Verdú acted, like, her acting in that scene was particularly, like, she crushed it, I think, of just and this is one of those places where you can get a little bit of empathy for this woman, even though she is doing truly reprehensible, I think, to me, because this is when the audience gets to learn of my ethics to these boys, because they're boys, they're not yet men, and she, like, the emotions that she allowed to play across her face as an actress of showing her grief and her sudden, like, desire, because grief is a weird thing, right? And then her realizing, oh God, this is wrong, but also realizing, oh God, he's so bad at this. And that complexity, like, the cast generally, stellar, incredible, absolutely incredible. But there are moments like this, and she does the same thing with Julio, because also, teenage boy, terrible at this.
Yeah.
And then later, when she breaks the fourth wall and looks at the audience, as she is seducing the boys, oh God, she's incredible.
She's very good in this role. Just, like, such profound acting that, like, I forget about the, like, age gap stuff. Like it wasn't until you and Brandon were talking to me about it, I was like, oh damn, that is kind of, boy, I really hadn't thought of that. And I think, like, she also winds up being kind of a living and then dying metaphor for colonialism in a way, because she is, there's this kind of, like, thing lurking in here about, like, exploitation of, of the people who are, of the Mexican people of Mexico itself. And she kind of takes what she wants from this trip and these young men and doesn't really face any consequence for it.
Yeah.
And it just feels like a really pointed sort of like, she literally comes from Spain, does all this stuff, gets what she wants out of it, and then dies before she has to face any of the consequences.
Yeah.
And there's no fallout for her. There's no fallout for them either, other than the complete destruction of their friendship. And I guess like a loss of innocence and a loss of, and just loss, I guess, in general. But it is such a tragic ending. And ironically, like, much as we might extend empathy and a degree of understanding to Louisa, I think in the end of this, her end is not tragic. She kind of goes out on her own terms, but everyone else has to live with the fallout and the baggage of that and the consequences of this trip and everything that happened, and that really breaks my heart, and that is the tragedy to me.
Yeah, even her husband, who you know, is kind of trash, but she's been accepting him cheating on her for years, presumably, because she kind of makes that, you know, in one of their phone calls. She tried to make this clean break without telling him, and she removes his consent as well. You know, in a way, he's removed hers many a time as well. But like, if you're in a long-term loving relationship and you suddenly develop a terrible form of cancer that's going to kill you within a month, maybe give your partner the choice to stick around.
Yeah, maybe.
And like, you know, that's you know,
good.
probably good. Or even the people that love you, even if they're not your like capital F family, right? And then she removes that agency again from the boys, obviously, because they don't have the full context of what she's doing. She's literally using them to have this last hurrah and kind of prove to herself, oh, I can grab the life by the horns and blah, blah, blah. And as like this, oh, what if feeling young again? Go down the list of I want the life that these young boys have, or these young men, I should say. And it just... she's very selfish, and I like the colonialism here too, because like, it's not their fault that they don't have context. They're younger. That's just the nature of life. Just like indigenous populations had no context for what the Europeans were doing. Like, that's not... there's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, I don't know what I don't know, and if you show up and tell me, I'll sell you this thing, and I don't understand the concept of sell because we don't have that in our culture. Like, okay, oh, sure. And the complexity of the metaphor that they bring in this film, in this lighthearted road trip movie, Ben, is
it's
really
just a fun
beautiful.
Romp.
Just a fun
just
romp.
A fun romp.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, is so beautiful and so profound. I mean, beautiful in the way that broken things can be beautiful, obviously.
Yeah. And I'm just a broken record, and I think this is like because I've said this to you like 20 times in the past week talking about this movie, but it is beautifully messy. It is beautifully uncomfortable. And those are things that I don't know. There's something here that, like, I watched this once a while back for the first time and was like, damn, I do like this. This is good. And then I watched it again in anticipation of the podcast. And then I watched it a third time so I could take some proper notes and get my thoughts out on it. And I'm probably going to watch it again in the future. There's something in here that grabs me. And I really think that there's so much in here that is deliberately messy and thorny, but that kind of creates a complexity and there's something to dig into that is really appealing to me. And I appreciate very much that, like, I'm coming at this movie with a very specific lens of, like, I'm a Canadian guy who has not been to Mexico, who does not really know this culture, this society, this history, it makes me want to learn a lot more about that, because I'm then acutely aware of, like, boy, a lot of the pop culture I consume about Mexico is I really enjoyed Diego Luna in the TV show Narcos, where he plays a Mexican drug lord. It's a good show, but that's also like a lot of the pop culture that we get based on Mexico is filtered through that lens, and that's not necessarily that's not the full story. And I want to see more stuff like this. This is so not to say that stuff it does not exist. That's, to be clear, that stuff's out there. I got to go find it now because like it hasn't been surfaced to me to this point. I think this was amazing. I'm a real Diego Luna fanboy. I watched this as like I finished Andor season 2 and I was like, I need more Diego Luna in my life, and then put this on and the first shot is Diego Luna's bare ass. I was like, whoa, okay, maybe that's more Diego Luna than I actually needed. Okay.
My first interaction with Diego Luna was Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. And then all the other things he's been in since, now that I'm a grown up. But then this, it was, there were definitely some moments I was like, what? When I take notes, I don't take notes. I just text myself on Discord.
Yeah.
And I showed you my Discord chat history with myself of like, wait, why is there so much sex? Why? What is happening? Am I just watching two young men lie on pool diving boards and touching themselves? What is happening right now?
Yeah.
And it was just, yeah. But no, it's the thing about it is that life is messy.
Yeah.
And complicated. And if you look close enough at anything, you see, to belabor a fine art metaphor, you see every little stroke, and no pun intended. And
well, you see a lot of strokes in this movie.
You see so many
unfortunately.
strokes in this movie. I know. But like the problematicness of Louisa, or even Tanakh and his privilege that he doesn't see a lot of the time, at the same time as being like, being rich is uncool. And like, okay, you have a maid that has delivered you food and that you called mama because she took care of you so much because your mom didn't. Because that's not what rich women do in that context, right?
Yeah.
Or at least his mother didn't. And the messiness of humanity is so beautifully on display here. And how humans are just disasters. And I say that with love, mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked how many hats they got to wear. Like, that's got nothing to do with the rest of this movie. Like, Diego Luna wears like 5 different hats. Gael Garcia Bernal wears like 5 different hats. And I don't mean like that metaphorically, like, oh, they were also scripting and no, like literally they wear
literal
fun
hats,
headwear. Yeah.
Listen, if you have to stand out in the sun all day, you're going to wear a hat too.
Yeah.
You know.
There's a cool beret in there. That was a fun one. And several cowboy hats. Yeah.
So as we get to the end of the episode, let's talk about the ending of the film, because the ending of the film is not the end of the road trip.
Yeah.
The two boys don't, obviously Louisa dies, but the two boys don't see each other after the events of the movies. Their girlfriends break up with them because, they went to Italy and discovered how glorious European men are, apparently. I've been to Europe. They were fine. And and they bump into each other, and the narrator says something to the effect of like, it was less awkward to just go get coffee than to not go get coffee, which is hella relatable.
Yeah.
And then we kind of get the quick and dirty summary of what they've been up to since they stopped talking. and they've grown up a little bit. There's this really dark, claustrophobic feeling to the shots here. They're next to the window in this little booth, and Diego has... Diego, oh my god. Tanakh has acquiesced to his father and is going into economics.
Yeah.
Julio, and he's going to a private school, of course, and Julio is going into biology, and he's going to school earlier because he's in public school because, you know, he can't afford the fancy private schools that Tanakh can, or Tanakh's parents can. Diego, why am I doing this? Tanakh tells him of Luis's death, and he is shocked, and there is silence that is heavy.
Yeah.
And they learn that their friend who came out as gay got kicked out of his parents' house, and he's like, oh, that's awful. And he's like, no, he's actually like super in love with his boyfriend. They're having a great time.
Happier than he's ever been. Yeah.
Yeah. And looking at the experience these two boys have had versus the side characters that we kind of saw, right? At the beginning, their friend Sabo is like this super stoner burnout kid who got his first three-way during the course of it, and we see him hanging out with these same two girls later on. Their queer friend having a happy relationship, all these different things. And then they're just kind of sad.
Yeah.
And it's such a exhale to the chaos of the entire movie where they've just kind of settled into what is expected of them. And that feels like their own kind of death. Like, Louisa died, but it feels like they too have experienced this, like, the light has gone out of them.
Yeah.
You know?
And the abruptness of they're on the beach, and then it's a cut, and it's back in Mexico City, and it's just like this the gray buildings, and like all the colors gone again, and the narrator has that bit about how like they have a line of dialogue where it's like, oh yeah, like we'll have to do this again sometime, and the narrator's like, and they never saw each other again. And then the last bit is just Julio like living in that moment for a second and looking almost on the verge of tears, and then asking for the check, and we just smash to the credits.
Yep.
Oh, heartbreaking.
God, yeah. A lighthearted road trip coming of age movie. So good. So Ben.
Gotcha.
If you want to learn something about movies, why watch Tu Mama Tambien?
If you want to learn about subtext, this is a great movie to watch because there is just so much going on, simmering beneath the surface with regards to commentary on society, on politics, and on like sexuality and identity. I was doing a bunch of reading up on this ahead of this, and there's some great academic stuff out there that people have like done these really close readings and interpretations online, and a lot of stuff has been published about it. So I read a few of those, and some people have some really fascinating reads on this that I just don't have the context to like dig into myself, but they kind of helped point me in certain directions and figure things out for myself, which was really fun. And you know, it's worth it for those the beach alone. Like when they get to the beach, it is just what a beautiful sequence to me. But Farrah, if you're looking to watch something on Friday night, why this fun, lighthearted road trip comedy, coming of age movie?
Yeah.
No other descriptors.
No other descriptors. I will also point out, I did watch this on a Friday night. It was the Friday where we had my birthday date night, so thanks for that. It's great.
Sorry.
But no, I think first of all, if you like subtitles, because this is in Spanish. I don't know if we actually said that out loud.
Yeah,
this is in a movie in all Spanish. And you want to really dig into what it means to be human and imperfect and messy And if you want to feel joy and disgust and, all the different things that make us human, I think this is a really good one to watch. But, maybe with a little more context around lighthearted coming of age road trip, asterisk. The asterisk is important.
Yeah.
All right. So, all that said, you can find us at Patreon as Coffee and Kurosawa. You can also find us on Blue Sky as Coffee Kurosawa Pod. You can find me on Blue Sky and Letterboxd as Farrah Sarpkaya, and at sarpkaya.ca, where I lend my voice as a voice actor. Ben, where can the people find you?
I'm on Blue Sky as at the Benjimon, and on Letterboxd as at Benjimon. And I just want to leave everyone with a profound thought. Truth is cool, but unattainable. That doesn't mean we shouldn't stop striving for it.
Beautiful. Thanks for listening.